guys, I finally found another tag video that I wanted to do. I have been skipping out on the past couple weeks of Tagtastic Tuesday just because most of the tag videos that I've seen have a lot of questions that I've already answered. Either that or it's just not the right time to do those videos. I have a couple of tag videos that I want to do, but I'm going to hold off a little while longer. So this tag video I thought was perfect and I want to get started. It's called the sewing tag and there's 11 questions. So the first question is, how old were you when you started sewing? I was really young. I know that I used to sit on my mom's lap and help her sew, even though now I know that I was probably in her way, but whenever I was really little, and then I think she started enrolling us in sewing classes when we were about 6 or 7. So, what was your first machine? My first sewing machine was a Pfaff. I asked my mom, do you remember which sewing machine it was that was up in my room that I had for a little while? And she was like, oh, it was probably that piece of crap, Pfaff. So I don't know what she meant by that. I think she just meant it was probably the most basic sewing machine that she had in the house at the time. She is one of those people that collects sewing machines. I don't necessarily understand it, but it was probably just the most basic machine that she had at the time, and so she let me use it. Number 3, what was your first project? I don't remember my first project really. I know that we were in classes and we made projects like every week or whatnot, and so I still have a couple of those projects, and I still have a couple of them today, so I thought I would show you 1 or 2 of them. There's this wall hanging flag. I think it's supposed to be hanging like this, and you put the dowel through there, and then yeah, pretty awesome. I didn't do the best job on it because if you can see, where is it? Right here, the fabric is coming away from the rickrack. Apparently the stitching didn't hold it down, so that part's messed up, and then I have a little fraying going on here, but I was super young, so, and it's still for the most part intact. And I think I could fix that if I wanted to. Alright, and then the other thing is this wall hanging. It's like a poem about spring, and I didn't do any of that artwork. I don't know if it was like a transfer or what, but they just gave us that piece of fabric, and then they let us sew the borders on, and then the buttons, and then we close the top and sew the back on. And I will show you the date on here because we actually wrote it on there. I can hold it over. It was February 10th, 1996. So I had just turned 8. Yes, I just turned 8 when I made that. Alright, number 4. What was the hardest project you made? Okay, so recently I had just gotten back into sewing after coming across a bunch of projects on Pinterest that I wanted to try. So one of the projects was this quilted stocking, and I wanted to make one for my daughter because it was just so cute, and it had the instructions on how to do the quilting blocks. So I went ahead and I started doing all the quilting blocks, and it turned out awesome. The rows were turning out great, but then I had to actually like cut out the shape of the stocking itself, and I didn't have a pattern, so I was freehanding it, and well, I'll show you. It turned out like this. The leg is super skinny, the toe is super skinny, and then the heel to the top of the foot is like really fat. So that was my free-handed pattern. I don't think that I put in the correct measurements to for whenever I turned it inside out, you know. So I don't know, it turned out okay. Look, the inside even is like red on one side and white on the other. Yeah. I don't know, it was my first attempt at a stocking and making my own pattern, and I had fun doing it, and Sadie liked it, so that's all that matters. But I wouldn't sell it or anything like that. Number 5, what stores do you buy sewing supplies from? I mostly go to my mom and I say, Mom, do you have this supply, or do you have this kind of fabric? Because in her basement she's got like a sewing lair. She's got bins and like this closet thing just full of fabric. So she has tons of fabric, just tons of thread, and pretty much any tool that you would need. And so I ask her if she has it first, and if she doesn't have it or if she's not willing to part with it, then I go to either Michael's or Joann's. They always have good deals going on, and they always have coupons, and so that's generally what I do. Number 6, what one sewing supply do you collect? I really don't. Woo! Thank you. Sorry, I just like smacked you in the face, but I was out of focus. Sorry. Anyways, what one sewing supply do I collect? I really don't collect any sewing supply. I pretty much just buy the materials as I need them for any particular project. So with the stocking, I went to my mom and I asked her if she had any Christmassy fabric, and she said yes. And so I went through all of her fabric and I picked out this fabric. And with Sadie's Easter dress, we went out and we bought the fabric for that dress. We knew exactly how much we were going to need, and so we went out and we specifically bought for that project. So I don't really necessarily collect anything. Number 7, what are your 2 favorite sewing projects? I don't know if I have 2. I know I have one favorite sewing project at this point, and that is clothes for Sadie. For Easter, we made Sadie's Easter dress, and I loved that whole process. I loved finding a pattern that we liked, and then I loved finding fabric with my husband, and we went around and we wanted to find the perfect fabrics that went with each other. And then it was just funny because I brought home the pattern and I started cutting out the pattern and I started doing everything, and he didn't grow up in a household with anybody sewing, and he has no idea what it takes. So as he's watching all the steps, he's like, why are you doing that? What is that for? What's that piece do? You know, like things like that. And so as the pieces started coming together and as he could visualize the dress, it was just a lot of fun to see him like, oh my goodness, it's gonna look so awesome, and he was getting so excited. So I loved sharing that experience with him. Number 8, what is your favorite sewing YouTube channel? I am only subscribed to one sewing YouTube channel, I guess how I would define it, and that is the Crafty Gemini, who actually is who I got this tag from. So I guess that's my favorite sewing YouTube channel, because any other tutorials that I come across, I don't ever feel, what do you call it? I don't ever feel like I want to click subscribe. I don't know. I'm like, oh, thanks for the tutorial, and then I click off. Like, it's never like, oh, I want to see their videos in the future. So even though that's probably what I should do, because I do want to be supportive to those people that are doing sewing tutorials, the Crafty Gemini is really the only one so far that really has kept me interested. Number 9, if you had to, or I just haven't found you yet. So if you do sewing tutorials, please don't be offended. I just haven't found you, most likely. Number 9, if you had to choose, which one would you want? A bucket full of fabric or a sewing machine? I would definitely choose a bucket full of fabric. For sure, hands down, I would get more mileage and more function and everything out of more fabric than I would a second sewing machine, in my opinion. I asked my mom these questions, and she said that she would choose the another sewing machine. I don't get it. Number 10, if you got to meet one sewer, who would it be? So I already said that my favorite sewing YouTube person was the Crafty Gemini. So I'm going to go ahead, and I know that this person doesn't do sewing tutorials, even though I think maybe she should, or at least some tips. But I know that Mandy from M&D627, yes, that's her channel, M&D627, she did her whole daughter's nursery pretty much, and she's also done some cloth diapers and things like that, and her projects are always so cute. And I know she does cloth wipes. I mean, she's awesome. And so I think it would be really fun to meet her, who is also like a sewing mom, and we could talk about projects, and I would love to learn from her. So I think that if I had to choose one to meet, I would choose Mandy. And number 11, does sewing run in your family? I would say yes. My mom is a sewer, I am a sewer, and my mom got her sewing not from her mom but from her aunt. And before that, I'm not sure who passed it on to my aunt, but my aunt, my mom, and me, we're all sewers. And for sure I would love for Sadie to pick it up and be interested in it. I'm not going to force it on her, but you know, if it's going on in the house, she'll most likely be interested. So if she's interested, I will definitely teach her how to sew as well. So I'm definitely going to tag Mandy from M&D. I know she has a new little baby girl, so she's probably really, really busy, and I would totally understand if she couldn't get to it right away, but I would love to see her answers for this. And anybody else who also does these videos, I would love to see your answers. So if you do this video, please leave it as a video response below. I would love to see you, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye!